I'm on it for a couple minutes until I'm too frustrated with the state of the world that I get off it because I realize it's unhealthy for me.
They're corporations who operate as corporations, but they're leading with people, right?
Our world is driven by like social media and internet media in general.
Maybe you don't always lead with your logo, but just like, again, putting your people in the forefront of everything.
Welcome to the Brand Nerd Podcast. I'm Mitch Metter. Join me as we nerd out over great brands, study the latest business tech, and learn proven strategies from experts and entrepreneurs. Let's get started.
What's up, nerds? Welcome back to the Brand Nerd Podcast. I am excited about today because today we're talking about personal branding versus corporate branding, and that might sound a little bit too brand heavy, but I think the cool thing about this is there are some really real world examples that I think most people know about how these two things are becoming one. The new normal for branding is that personal branding and corporate branding are becoming one. They're coming together.
There's some gray.
Yeah, and so it's really fascinating, and I think it can apply a lot to even local companies. So I'm excited to get into that. But first, in the spirit of season 0 of the Brand Nerd Podcast, and season 0 is the concept of we are trying things out. This is a new pod, so let's try some things. Today we're introducing a new segment called Nerd News. I spent a lot of time thinking about what to call it.
We need an intro.
No.
For that. Like, welcome to Nerd News.
Yeah.
You know?
No, not that. Something.
We need like a different set, like a B stage or something like
where
that.
like
you can pop over to like a whole
green
different
screen
view
behind us, and there's like a globe spinning with like red and
the most retro. Yeah, okay, get on that.
We'll
do
it.
So anyways, we're gonna do this nerd news segment, and there's a couple things that popped onto my radar this week that I think are really interesting in the kind of branding and even nerd and nostalgia space. So I'm excited to talk about it. The first one is the Seattle Seahawks are doing a 90s throwback jersey, and it's super sweet. I'm a 90s kid. I was born in the late 80s. And so, I grew up in the 90s. My introduction to the NFL was in the 90s. It's, my favorite football team, the Dallas Cowboys. That's when they were actually good at football. So that was, it was a great time. It was awesome. I was pretty much used to just winning championships every year when I was a kid. I didn't realize that, I'd then go on a drought for the rest of my life from winning a Super Bowl. But anyways, the Seattle Seahawks unveiled this new logo. It's awesome. It throws me back. Like, my first memories of the Seattle Seahawks are like Warren Moon and John Kitna running around in jerseys that look a lot like these 90s throwbacks. Yeah. And then the thing that's really cool to bring it even into the website territory, check out the Seahawks website that they did with, they partnered with Microsoft. It's Seattle. Microsoft's right there in Seattle. Yeah. So they've got this awesome dial-up Seahawks throwback with this sweet 90s button.
Yeah, it's the start button that you would find in like your typical Microsoft computer. And I had those computers. Like we had those.
We've got the AOL loading screen, the classic AOL loading screen on this. These are this wasn't even the first computer I would have used. But still. It just reminds me of my childhood so much. And actually, so the Seahawks have a pretty awesome uniform. When Nike took over the NFL uniforms 11, 12 years ago, the first thing they did was redesign the Seahawks uniform. It was kind of like the introduction to it.
They had like the lime green.
Yeah. So jerseys. When Reebok had the jerseys, they had the jerseys were baggy and you remember the 90s, you watch it and everything's all squared off, and now you see the NFL and it's only gotten tighter and tighter over time. But these compression sleeves and, sometimes quarterbacks and stuff, they don't wear the compression, but these tight fitting jerseys that allow a lot more movement and things like that, I imagine. But here's a.
Is this the Nike?
This is Nike. This is the unveil. So you see all the the tight uniforms. Then here's Big Ben Roethlisberger with his classic QB sleeves, you know. But the Seattle Seahawks jersey in particular, let's skip forward here. You can see
shoulders replicate the powerful wings carved into the native totem Thunderbird totems. The wing pattern also lives on the side of the pant, with 12 wing icons representing.
So what's funny about this is that they actually did like a whole keynote as if it was like Apple products.
Cam Chancellor, safety for the Seahawks back in the day, Legion of Doom defense. The cool thing about this, you know, so it's funny. I remember this is when me and my wife were either dating or first married. So it was, you know, probably right around this time, within a few years of this jersey. She was watching football with us, and she goes, "Oh, I really like their outfits." Mm-hmm. She's talking about Seattle. She goes, "I like their outfits." I'm like, "Babe, those are not outfits. These are uniforms."
Exactly. Oh man, I love their outfits.
Yeah, what? They're
so matching. They're so cute. You know what's crazy is that I remember when this happened, but when you said 10 years ago, that just sounded so long ago, and I was like. Yeah. Wow. Like, I just didn't realize it's been that long, but I remember explicitly when Reebok was like, it was a huge acquisition and transfer of like power there. To me, Nike just like should have been doing it all along, like in comparison to Reebok. But like, I guess, Reebok got the deal at one point and Nike wasn't interested, or maybe they were and they got outbid. Who knows?
All the jerseys I own are still Reebok because that's the last time I've bought an NFL jersey.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's anyways, I really think the nostalgia and all of that.
Go to SeattleSeahawks.com to check it out and see what we're talking about here.
Yeah, we'll throw some images up on the screen.
It's worth looking at. It's pretty cool.
So if you're listening to the audio version, definitely check out the video version on YouTube or Spotify.
Yeah, they're also selling retro gear, I just saw, which is pretty sweet. Like they're actually selling like the old, you know, bomber jackets and stuff.
I love that so much. Like I love so like in basketball, I follow the Memphis Grizzlies, and they have some sick retro stuff. Yeah. You know, so they actually started in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. The Grizzlies started in Vancouver. You know, the famous Memphis, Tennessee Grizzly Bears. You know, that roam the streets of Memphis.
Exactly.
No, they started in Vancouver, where Grizzlies actually make sense.
Yeah.
But they, you know, the older like flat brim caps and stuff. Are really sweet from the early Grizzlies. Okay, another nerd news topic I wanted to bring up was the classic infomercial icon Billy Mays would have turned 65 this week.
Dang.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
To a real one.
Yeah, so I thought it would be pertinent to play a couple Billy Mays highlights here. So you remember him from...
Billy Mays here with Zorbies.
Zorbies.
Hi, Billy Mays here with the Awesome Auger.
Awesome Auger.
Hi, Billy Mays here for Mighty Putty.
Mighty Putty.
Hi, Billy Mays here for Mighty Mendit.
Man.
Hi, Billy Mays here for Mighty
I feel like there's probably a certain demographic that doesn't realize how...
Hi, Billy Mays here.
Like...
Hi, Billy Mays here for
iconic Billy Mays is.
I didn't.
Here for the greater plater. Hi, Billy Mays here for one.
Okay, so like you
was the guy you went to if you're like, we gotta hawk some products that aren't necessarily like these aren't companies, these are products.
These are products.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, so he's essentially taken the trade show to late night television.
Yes.
And you know, this is probably like you know, nowadays you have like QVC, you have all these things.
Yeah.
But this was how, you know, if you had a great product, you know, there wasn't Shark Tank.
Right.
You go pitch it on. It was you go hire Billy Mays or a knockoff Billy Mays.
I was just gonna say, when you said Billy Mays, I instantly thought of like, what was it? The OxyClean, you know, and that's kind of what I associate him with. But like seeing this, it's amazing how many products. Like, and it's funny because he's the same dude. So you would think there's an exclusivity. Like, surely if he's using all these products, he's not using all of them or promoting all of them. He's not actually using all of them, right? Whereas, like, yeah, I see this and I'm like, oh, man, like, it just, the more products he promotes, the cheaper I feel like they are.
But even the fact that, you know, we're talking about, you know, personal branding later on this episode, the fact that he starts, hi, Billy Mays here.
Yeah,
like,
that's his
brand. Name had some authority behind it for, get your credit cards ready because you're gonna want to get this doohickey.
Go ahead, Devin. Were you gonna say something?
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say that's like one of my earliest memories is just like being like a little kid. You fall asleep with the TV on, then you get like jolted awake by Billy Mays on an infomercial at 2 a.m. Just like what is going on?
Hi, Billy Mays here. Yeah, it's like there's a community of people that as soon as they heard "Hi, Billy Mays here," they grabbed their card and they were like, "I'm buying this thing."
Yeah,
dude,
you're watching your like syndicated sitcom or whatever, and it finally gets to 3 a.m. or whatever, and shuts off. And hi, Billy Mays here. You're like, what is happening?
Whoa, I should go to bed.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Well, rest in peace, Billy Mays. You're awesome, man.
I had to look up how he died. He died in his sleep. They just,
man.
His wife found him. Yeah, it's
probably a
sad.
product.
Yeah.
No, actually, all of this. Let's be respectful. All of this is like a.
He had a bottle of OxyClean.
It was OxyClean the whole time. Man, it's so sad.
No. That's
Billy, we miss you, man. There's no one like you. Not even the ShamWow guy could do it like you.
No. Although the Flex Seal guy is trying.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
he's good.
I mean, if you can saw a boat in half and then put it back
I was
together
gonna say, like, how many more boats does he have to saw in half until he reaches Billy Mays level status?
Yeah, but he's all in on the Flex Seal and Flex Seal family. When I walk into my hardware store, like you walk in and the display immediately on your left, you can get your shopping cart, and then the display there is almost always just all the Flex Seal stuff.
Seal, yeah.
Like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Saw a car in half, Flex Seal it back together, and drive it down the road.
Exactly. All right. The next thing on nerd news I want to talk about here is the Pepsi rebrand 2023. So I was watching this video of the Burger King rebrand. Wall Street Journal put out a video this week.
Yeah.
It was all about the Burger King rebrand, and they brought in some of these like branding execs, which is always interesting, to hear them talk about it from this very corporate, high level perspective. But as they were doing it, they're like, here it fits. You can see some other recent rebrands, and it had like McDonald's, which was like 2007, I think was their most recent rebrand. But still, they had like all these other things. And I saw a Pepsi logo. I was like, I've never seen that Pepsi logo before. Yeah. It had 2023 next to it. And I'm like, is Pepsi rebranding? It did not hit my radar. Yeah. But apparently, at the end of March, they announced a rebrand.
Yeah, actually, I read about it, and
I'm sure you did. Yeah,
but I don't think the products actually were launching until a certain point.
They're launching in the fall.
Okay, so they hadn't launched a new product.
Yeah. But it's kind of cool because like that's often the way, like we don't get our hands on Pepsi, but we get our hands on some rebrands. Yeah, and that's usually the approach that you have to take with a small company. Is like, hey, we've got to roll this out incrementally, or we've got to, if we're going to roll it out big, we've got to take some time and plan it because there's a lot of brand assets that we need to work with. Right. Well, that's exactly what Pepsi's doing. They're like, they announced the rebrand, but it doesn't roll out to the fall. It's actually their 125th anniversary. And so check out the Pepsi logos through the years.
Wow.
In 18. I started 1893. They rolled out as Brad's drink.
Straight up, the guy was like, "Yo, I make this sick drink. Yo, you want to take a sip of this stuff? My name is Brad. What should we call it?
Yeah,
Brad's drink."
Like, I don't know. Like, I assume Pepsi was in the same vein as Coca-Cola, where it kind of started, where it had like, they would sell it as like having medicinal properties, and obviously Coca-Cola started with similar. It didn't have cocaine in it, but it derived from the same plant, so it had some cocaine-like qualities to it. But Brad's drink's great. Check out this second logo that they rebranded for 5 years from 1898 with this Pepsi Cola. Like, I don't know what was going on with branding back then.
Like, the dingbats, like when you type, this is really nerdy, but like when you type something out, there's just a bunch of like random like characters and wingdings and dingbats and all that. Yeah, it's just a weird logo.
So anyways,
it's
they
cool, man.
Kept that look for a while. Then they got into the what we're familiar with seeing. What I think is really cool about this 2023 rebrand, though, is they brought black back. So they're putting black in the logo.
Yeah.
Which I was like, man, I don't know if they've ever done that. But then looking back in the 60s,
they did,
and 70s, just the 60s.
The 2023 logo actually resembles the 1962 to 1969. Like if you look at those typefaces, some of the quirky curl angles in the font.
Yeah.
I think is really interesting. I would
And they
say
adopted like a darker blue, like a midnight navy almost from the 70s as well.
yeah, actually though. Yeah.
But look at this little fun. The P's are kind of have this little angle on it. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I think that the 2008 versions, if you show those, they had gone to the sense of like they wanted those to look smiley, like so 2008 onward. The biggest logic there was they wanted those to look like it was smiling. And I remember when they rebranded to that and the intention behind it. Those are essentially the same logo, just one is refined, a little bit thicker. Obviously, the one on the right is nicer.
Yeah, they just modernized it a little bit.
They cleaned it up.
But this is a little bit more than an iteration. This is a flagpole moment.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a
they're
big-
obviously drawing from their past,
Yeah.
but it's definitely. And I'm interested to see too because
It's gonna look good on like right here. It almost feels like not Pepsi a little bit, but,
Right,
but I think
that's-
when you see it on the blue bottles and stuff, like the packaging actually is
Yeah.
it's gonna bring it home. I think.
so here's their logo unveil, and you can see it on some products.
Yeah. See. Yeah.
I think that Pepsi cherry looks awesome.
Yep.
Tesla truck. Yeah,
And it looks good
Very
even in that 3D, like that animated sort of
Yeah.
like 3-dimensional look. That's cool too.
yeah.
I mean, obviously they're gonna use that maybe on ads or something like just that's not gonna be
Exactly. Yeah. Well, but yeah, it's cool to see that they're willing to get away from just the flat.
just the flat. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So yeah,
That's
no,
sweet, man. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think a lot of people don't realize how many products they use throughout the day and how regularly or not regularly those brands are actually making intentional decisions on how they look visually.
Yeah.
You know, and that's awesome. And
Yeah,
that's corporate for sure. That's corporate branding versus
Yeah.
we're talking about personal versus corporate. It's like that's a great example of how corporate branding has changed over the years.
My early impressions of Pepsi as a child were always negative because I grew up in one of those family where it's like, is Coke okay? And the answer was no. Or sorry, is Pepsi okay?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
answer is no.
Yeah.
You know, like
not okay.
in Memphis, where my dad's side of the family is from, like when you order a soft drink, you order a Coke. And they say, what kind of Coke do you want? Oh, I'll have Dr. Pepper. You know what I mean? Like, it's like it's an
Yeah.
interesting, like,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Kleenex and tissues,
Right.
you know?
That
Give me a
chapstick and
Exactly.
it just takes on the whole
Yeah.
genre on its
Yeah.
own.
And obviously, like, that's, in like the upper Midwest, it's pop or soda pop. And then around here, it would be soda. I think
Yeah.
soda is probably the most correct term, but, you can
Yeah.
fight me on that.
Yeah. Well, even you see in the Pepsi logo, it was Pepsi Cola.
Yeah.
But that was confusing for people because Coca-Cola,
Mhm.
and they kind of pinned that term. So Pepsi was like, we might have more market value if we just drop cola because people know who we are.
Yeah.
They know we're cola,
Well, they
so-
had a campaign for a while that literally the campaign was yes, Pepsi's okay, or it's more than okay, or something like that. I should look that up. But yeah, that was an interesting. Like, we're going to embrace the alternative
Right.
identity,
Right.
And
Right.
I think that's pretty neat. Okay,
Nice.
a little news I wanted to share just because I'm super psyched about it. I was looking through some of the most recent Apple news, and Mac OS Sonoma is the next one they're rolling out, and they're going to add keychain support for the Chrome browser.
Let's go.
It's huge for me because I prefer my beautiful little walled garden that is Apple,
Yeah.
but when I work in Chrome with a lot of my apps that I use for work, I have to work in Chrome because it just doesn't load right in Safari. And so I've got passwords back and forth, and they've already have compatibility on the phone. Like, I can keep Chrome in my keychain on my phone, so
Gotcha.
it's not as bad there.
Yep.
But on my desktop, it's been miserable.
Yeah. I am
I might be the only one who cares.
you and maybe 4 other people
Yeah.
in the whole world.
It's only people like me.
I just wanted to say that I'm so excited for new Apple hardware in September. Like, I just that time of year for me, I just get so pumped. I'm a total Apple sheep,
Yeah.
and I skipped upgrading last year. I literally had the iPhone 14 in my cart, and then I was like, this is dumb. Like, I don't need it.
Yeah.
And now this year I'm like, you know,
You're in?
I'm in. Yeah, dude. And I'm even like, yeah, there's some rumors about a flat Apple Watch with the flat face again. That was a rumor last year, and it didn't
Yeah.
happen. But if we could get an Apple Watch with a flat surface, so like the Ultra, which is not the Ultra, like not the, you know, whatever, at that price point, just a regular, you know, what would it be, a 9? It would be the 9th watch, because
I think
last year was the 8.
I think so.
Yeah. So a Series 9 with a flat face in black, or like charcoal gray or space black or whatever, not the midnight, I would buy it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have to. I'd have to upgrade my phone and my watch.
Yeah. I'm excited, but I'm super happy with what I got right now.
Yeah.
With all my
Unless they come out with a 15 Pro Mini. Pro Mini.
it's
crazy.
it's tough because there was a point in time with Apple where every year there was just these giant leaps forward.
Yeah.
And you were like, I gotta get there.
Mhm.
But like all this stuff has become so iterative,
Mhm.
you know, just little changes year over year, little iterations.
Yeah.
That yeah, I don't get nearly as excited as I used to because everything's still working. And you remember when it used to be like your phone like started to like not work as well?
Yeah.
Almost.
They were intentionally doing that. Remember, like they were
Yeah.
slowing batteries down and
No,
stuff.
they were trying to save your battery.
Exactly.
Come on, Pete.
Exactly. They're trying to save it, man. They were doing the right thing.
They were doing it for your benefit.
Exactly. Behind your back without you
My
knowing.
word.
But it was for
Yeah.
your benefit.
Yeah. Another
Threads.
one.
Oh, I'm still rocking the 10s Max, so y'all are
Yikes,
still
dude.
way ahead of me.
Yikes.
I might be due for an upgrade here soon.
10X Max,
Okay,
fam?
I actually missed the 10X Max because
Never had a 10X Max.
and we're
10
calling
I
it
said
10X.
No, I said
10s.
10S.
Yeah.
10S. I'm sorry, 10S.
missed
I've still got, what do they call it? 3D touch. That's not a thing anymore. I've still got that.
I do like the 3D
In some
touch.
ways, I might be ahead of y'all.
I miss the fact that my phone case didn't have a bump. Like the phone itself had a bump with the 10, but when I put a case on it, it was still flat.
Gotcha.
And I
Yeah.
actually almost returned my 12 when it came because I put the case on. I'm like, wait a second, this still has a bump,
Yeah.
and it really bothered me. And it still bothers me.
You can probably find
I-
cases that are thick.
I
enough.
don't like.
Yours, that's even a little bump. Mine is like, I got a real rock going on.
This is a Nomad.
Yours, yeah, that Nomad case actually not bad. But.
Anyways, moving on. Another news item that hit my radar, but it's not something I have any opinion on. How's Threads going? I know you're using Threads.
Well, you know,
what's it like in Threads
I'm
world?
a threader. You know, I'll be threading hard these
Mhm.
days. Look, it's going well. I mean, I think I have like 318, 320 followers on there.
Cool.
I have about 4,000.
But like, what's it like?
Something
were you-
on
Were you a Twitter
Instagram.
user beforehand?
I wasn't.
Okay.
And so I think that's actually that's a great point that I think you're getting at is I think Threads is really attractive to people that miss the Twitter wave
Gotcha.
and who don't feel like I every time I go on Twitter, I just don't feel like I fit there.
Yeah.
I don't know why or what it is.
Mhm.
There's just something about it that I'm like, I feel like I just am it's just consumption
Yeah.
and I can't engage because
I feel like if I was to tweet, I've stopped tweeting and use Twitter exclusively for checking on like some news stuff and just to kind of get a gauge on conversations about stuff. And it's actually mostly I'm on it for a couple minutes until I'm too frustrated with the state of the world that I get off it because I realize it's unhealthy for me. But the Threads, probably the conversations that are happening on there would be more in line with what I want, but
I think it would be.
honestly, because it's Facebook or Meta, because it's another one of their things, I'm just like, I'm out. So my big take was I hope Threads takes over so I can just delete my Twitter and then not have to have one less social media that I'm even addicted to.
Yeah, I think Threads right now is a great opportunity because it's so young to get on there and actually build an audience because it's young. And so that's what I'm hoping to do, but it's still, it feels more genuine. But again, you're right, from a censorship standpoint, from all those things, like there's a lot of reasons why a Zuckerberg run platform is a little less attractive for me personally than a Musk. Like I'd rather deal with like
Too much than too little.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's always my philosophy. I'd rather see it all
Yeah.
than to not see it all and know that there's a higher power protecting me from that. I can discern for myself.
Yeah.
You know, like I have that filter within me. I don't need Zuckerberg to make
Right.
that decision for me.
Yeah, I had a similar thought, but it was just like the fact that should one company be running all of the social media that I use, or like
Correct.
should there be more
100%.
competitors and stuff? Like if there's going to be a competitor to Twitter, maybe it should be not Facebook and Instagram who are also running the competitor to Twitter. It should be something else.
Well, they said
Something like that.
said that recently usage dropped
Yeah.
like drastically, and so that doesn't mean. I mean, Facebook or Meta has put out other social media platforms that have flopped in the past, and they just delete them. So the two options are they either delete them, or they integrate them into one of their into Facebook or Instagram. So even for example, I don't know if you remember IGTV. That was supposed to
YouTube
compete
competitor.
with YouTube.
Mhm.
And people were posting IGTV, and Facebook launched Facebook Watch, where they had exclusive shows. Like they had the Will Smith's wife had like a
Yeah.
panel show there, and it was exclusive to Facebook Watch.
You know what I watched on Facebook Watch back in the day? The Big Baller brand, like lifestyle. It was like almost like a Kardashian-esque, but it followed. I can't even think of their names right now. The
Basketball?
Balls.
The Ball family,
Yeah, like
Lonzo,
Lonzo.
Oh, okay.
and LaMelo
Like
and
their dad.
LiAngelo.
Remember when their dad,
Yeah.
his old Big Baller brand,
Yeah.
he's like, parading his kids around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on
He
Facebook
was
Watch
claiming
too.
he could take Michael Jordan one-on-one
Yeah.
today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
But they had a whole like Facebook show that
Yeah.
maybe ran 8 episodes
Yeah.
or
And
something.
I think the idea was just you could go on, watch the show live with other people, where people can be in a chat commenting different things while it's happening live.
They
I
were
just-
too soon.
But
That would have been great for COVID.
yeah, honestly, but at the end of the day, it flopped and
Yeah.
it wasn't as successful, and they dropped it. IGTV disappeared completely, and people got on there, try to build a platform there and an audience there, and then they take it away because no one's using it.
Interesting.
So, but Threads overall, I think is going decently well. I think they're probably still happy with it. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, but
Yeah. All right, let's talk about personal branding versus corporate branding. And corporate branding, think of it as like, there's no one face of the company, even if there are some people that maybe you associate with the brand, but think of like Nike, to just keep it really broad. They don't have, there's not a face of Nike. They have faces, they have athletes that they've signed, and, their commercials, they'll have athletes, and, now they've even expanded the brand to include like, para Olympians and, a bunch of, different aspirational figures.
Yeah, so when we say corporate branding, it's not necessarily exclusive to the size of the business.
No, of
You could be a medium-sized business and operate very corporately. Because I think most people, when you say corporate or corporation,
Yeah.
they either think of it's a legitimately filed corporation legally, or they think of a big business,
Yeah.
right? And so, but I know local tax places that are mom and pop owned,
Right.
not, small, but they operate very corporately.
Sure.
And so we're kind of talking about all of it together.
Yeah. If
It's
you
not-
open a pizza shop in town, you could call it, Pete's Pizza, or you could call it, I don't know,
Pizza
Lancaster Pizza or whatever.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
actually is a Lancaster Pizza.
Pizza
but-
Distributors Incorporated.
right. Big Bites.
Yeah. Big Bites Incorporated.
But anyways, yeah, like that's the idea here. So just a little bit of pros and cons, and then I want to also talk about like how you maybe don't even have to choose really.
Yeah.
So to start off, personal brands, I think the thing that's awesome about personal brands is it's going to be a lot faster adoption, or a lot, people understand what that is a lot faster, because one, our world is driven by like social media
Yeah.
and internet media in general, and personality is what cuts through the noise
Right.
on those platforms. So typically you're not like, oh, I'm following this company that's
Right.
doing really cool stuff.
Right.
It happens, but it's not the norm.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot longer for a company to get that traction versus a personal brand. Those can blow up overnight, especially if like a new social media platform, or you've got some sort of edge in your platform. The tough part is as that grows, it's very dependent on that personality, that person. It's a personal brand. So if your personal brand is now associated with products and things, and you want to step back from that and not be the face of it anymore, the products and everything will suffer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah. I'm actually interested. I know we're going to talk about this, but I'm really interested to talk about the ones that kind of fluctuate between corporate branding and personal branding, and how, I think that's where there's a lot to talk about. And
yeah, the cool thing about starting from a personal brand, like let's say you're like, right now I'm deciding, do I go personal or do I go corporate? The cool thing about going personal is it's a lot more flexible. Once you've named your company, you've named your profile, it's a little harder to pivot. Versus if it's a personal brand, you have a variety of interests, and you can work on one and realize, oh, this isn't really, I'm not passionate about this, or people aren't connecting with it. Let me try something else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also you can introduce, like, how many times you see people build their personal brand and then they introduce product and stuff after that has been built. Whereas if you're doing the opposite, if you're building a company brand or a business brand, and then you're coming along as the face of that, it works. Obviously, that's part of the gray that we're going to talk about. But I think when you're a smaller, like, service provider, that's like a little bit, it's harder to get the clout, as the kids say, which is just like the hype.
For sure.
You know, it would be a plumbing company that people follow, maybe, or maybe not a plumbing, but HVAC business or something that people follow on social media. You'd have to make it interesting for people to want to follow. You know, like, you have to think outside the box of, how do I make a plumbing company like clickable and likable on social media, right? And it would take personality. It would be, hey, let's probably focusing less on the work that we're doing and more focusing on the employees and the stories that we're telling. Like, yo, the craziest thing happened. We went, this pipe bursted. It was crazy. There's water out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, finding different ways to engage.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about company or corporate branding. The thing that, you know, much like personal branding is faster adoption, corporate branding is much slower adoption, just because of the reasons we talked about. It's less relatable. There's no face to the company. And one positive, though, is that you have resource pooling. You have resource pooling with, like, for example, you mentioned having employees. If you have multiple employees, your social media doesn't have to be one person that pops up on it.
Yeah.
And in the same way, like, your customer interaction doesn't have to be the same. Like, we work with a company who, it's a dental practice, and they've got, you know, multiple dentists that all work for this company. It's named after the main dentist, but then they've got other dentists that have great personalities, and as you like look through the reviews and stuff, they call out individual dentists on their social media. They it's not one face at any one time. You know what I mean? Like, it's multiple people that are posting.
All the time,
yeah. So you have multiple personalities. So you have this like resource pooling effect. And then the great thing about a corporate brand is it's an asset that can be sold. You can step away from it, and you don't have to worry about the asset, the brand, because it's corporate, you know. And that's, you know, just inside baseball, that's like the thought behind Brand Nerd. You know, I could have named this, you know, Mitch's Marvelous Marketing or whatever, but no, I was like Brand Nerd because that's the intersection of what I want to talk about. I like brands and I kind of nerd out about them, you know, but all the facets of brand, to like what makes a brand great. But I also works out that I'm also into some nerdier type of things, like, you know, Lord of the Rings and stuff that at least qualifies me for baseline nerd status.
It does.
Yeah,
for sure.
So anyways, that was like, hey, now, but I can build that brand,
right? And
I intend to, and not have it be dependent on myself. So that's a decision I've made, is I'm going to go the less easy route. I'm going to call it Brand Nerd, and we'll build it over time. And I'm willing to live with the consequences of that. I also just don't have a desire to be a personal brand. Like, I don't want my face all over everything.
But that's changed. That's changed since the podcast. That's changed since, I mean, that's you are now, I think, living in more of the gray than you ever were before.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and we talk about both.
But the reason I can do that is because I don't post anything.
Yeah.
Like, I help with like some descriptions. I might give some direction, but I have people often. A good example. Last week I was hanging out with some friends on a Thursday night, and we had recorded the podcast on a Thursday, and one of you two posted something about podcast day, and they go, "How was the podcast? How did the podcast go today?" And I go, "How do you know we did the podcast today?"
Yeah.
Like, we saw it on social media. I'm like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah.
Like stuff
Yeah.
like that where, I'm glad it's out there. I don't have a problem with it. But if it was me doing it, I wouldn't devote any time to doing
Do
that.
it. Yeah. No, it makes sense. That makes total sense.
So
Both, right?
yeah,
Let's talk about that.
so I'm living in both world. Brand Nerd is living in both world. And so just some examples of both, doing it both ways. Like Tesla obviously has a link forever to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
But it is not Elon Musk's cars.
Right.
It's not Musk. Buy your Musk.
Yeah. Buy musky cars.
Right.
Stay
And for a
Musk.
long time, I would say, if anything now, because Elon Musk has become more of a controversial figure, maybe that's hurt the Tesla brand a little bit.
Yeah.
And as other companies roll out EVs and, are more competitive with them, I'm not worried about the place of Tesla, because my understanding is that they're way ahead on battery technology. Everybody's adopting their charger network.
Mm-hmm.
They still have, they're still selling cars like crazy. So, not worried about Tesla in that regard, but it's an interesting version of, like, they've got this iconic figure, but Tesla lives in its own world, and their iconic figure is also balancing his time between SpaceX and the Boring Company, and now
Mm-hmm.
Twitter or X. And I think he just launched XAI, and he's got
Mm-hmm.
the whatever his Neuralink is, his, like,
The brain chip.
yeah.
Antichrist stuff. Elon Musk is the Antichrist.
Not how I saw that going, but
I saw some hilarious video where this guy was just like pretending to be like
Gotcha.
just a super right
Gotcha.
conspiracy, like in a trailer with his shotgun, And he's like, "All right, well, we saw the submarine sink, so I think that confirms my interpretation of Daniel 9. So I think we do believe now that Elon Musk is the Antichrist." It's great, fantastic. Come on.
Guess you had to be there. Huh?
Yeah, he's like, "Was putting the Neuralink chip in people's minds, the mark of the beast."
Yeah.
So anyway, branding and marketing.
Another company that both I know you and me both follow is a company called Think Media, and they have a YouTube channel, and it's really dedicated to helping people who are content creators and podcasters and video creators and all of that stuff, resourcing them,
I was gonna say,
motivating them.
resource hub.
They've got their own products that launch off of that, but it's essentially become a brand with multiple faces.
Mm-hmm.
It's a personal brand. There's the original creator, and I forget people's names pretty easily.
Sean Cannell.
Sean. Yeah. So Sean is like the main. You'll see him on the videos most, but he's got 3 or 4 other people who are reoccurring characters, and they actually do their own videos on the channel, separate from Sean altogether.
Yeah. What's interesting is they come up with their own videos. So like they come up with, I'm sure they run it through a filter or something to make sure, like, hey, we didn't talk about that recently, or you're doing it in an interesting enough angle. But they all come up with their own content, shoot the video themselves,
Interesting.
and then edit. Like it's almost like they all have their own edit, like team of one or two other people
Gotcha.
that edit, and then they submit it to the channel. So it's
I
like
did not know that.
yeah. So it's not as like, I didn't realize there was that much free range, like free reign for them to do whatever they want. Is it free range or free reign?
Free reign is like the ability to do
free reign, right?
Yeah, like you don't have
reins.
overseeing.
Yeah.
Free range is like a chicken
like a chicken.
running around the yard. Yeah. I mean, I think
I said both right now because I was unsure. I was like, should I say free range? Or, yeah, it's free reign is what I meant to say.
think of a rein like a horse,
Yeah.
like you're reining it in, or
Yes.
Yeah.
So Think Media though, yeah, they've been. I mean, yeah, it's a business that both you and I have followed greatly as it relates to content.
Yeah.
So I think that would be cool. I like that model of having different personalities for one thing. Keeps things fresh. I don't know what that looks like, but I think it's a really interesting model.
Yeah. The other example that popped into my mind is I'm StoryBrand certified. It's a messaging framework that I've used for a long time, but I've been certified in it for 5 years. And when I was certified in it, one of the reasons I wanted to do it is because I saw it as an opportunity. There wasn't many people certified. There's maybe 100 or so across the country. Donald Miller was an established brand himself, and he created StoryBrand. He was an author. He's an author turned business he's like an author turned marketing turned business guru.
Yeah.
So he started writing memoirs and then created StoryBrand. To make a long story short, he created StoryBrand using storytelling frameworks or themes to help with marketing. He realized that this was true in his marketing and when he was most effective, so he developed this framework. I found it to be extremely insightful and really helped with my career as I was, marketing director for companies and things like that. So the thing is, he then went from StoryBrand to Business Made Simple, rebranded the podcast, so that StoryBrand language started to disappear. And so I've seen like that in my business, like it's been oversaturated because there's more and more people certified. There's now thousands. I think it's north of 5,000 people certified. Whereas when I started, it was 100. And the other part of it is he stepped away from that, handed it off to somebody else, and he still mentions it. He's not completely gone. And they've actually had a big push for StoryBrand recently, but it's not for people to do StoryBrand. It's more for people to become StoryBrand certified.
Yeah. So they're who they're targeting changed from the people or from like businesses to coaches. Like become a certified StoryBrand coach or whatever, mentor.
So it's an interesting shift of seeing like that StoryBrand brand has not lived as well without the personal brand associated with it as much as he's gone into broader business categories. I also think, and this is not based on anything other than just intuition, I'm obviously biased because I'm StoryBrand certified. I didn't get certified with his business frameworks because I don't want to be a business coach. I want to help people with their marketing and branding. So the I think there's some resistance. I think it's harder for him to go to business guru because he's only built the one business, which is StoryBrand.
Yeah.
He has not had like this long lasting history of being a business entrepreneur. He's an author, then turned, marketing guru. And now he's trying to make the shift, or he successfully made the shift to business guru. But maybe not as successfully as somebody who has built $100 million companies and is being the business guru archetype, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting example. But the thing that is the new normal, to shift gears, we're shifting into high gear now, because the thing that's really exciting about personal branding and corporate branding is that they are becoming so blurred in this attention economy. People are taking their attention that they already have and they're monetizing it. And so you can actually turn your personal brand into a corporate brand that starts to live outside of you. And the first example I want to talk about is the biggest YouTuber there is, Mr. Beast. He has taken his massive YouTube audience, which is, his videos are fairly pure in that they're like, we're just going to do outrageous things that are very intriguing. We're going to use super clickable thumbnails, and then we're going to have high engagement videos that you can't stop watching because you're just like, what's going to happen next? They drive my wife nuts, but I've watched them out of just awe of what they're doing, because I'm like, this is working. And people might like try to say, oh, their audience is just a bunch of kids, like it's no big deal. But it's like, the kids buy stuff, and in fact, some of the things that they buy would be like burgers and candy, which is exactly what they've done. Is they've launched Mr. Beast Burger, which is I don't think there's any physical locations, but they use these pop-up kitchens, or I think they're called pop-up kitchens.
Well, they use mom and pop like pizzerias.
You can do that too, yeah.
But like these pop-up kitchens, and then also just like corner pizzeria shops that will make.
Yeah, you buy the ingredients, you buy the packaging, and then people order it on DoorDash or whatever, and then it's delivered or they pick it up.
Yeah.
And so he launched this whole Beast Burger thing, which I think has been super profitable. And then even bigger is he's now going on after Hershey's and M&M Mars with his own line of chocolate called Feastables. It's got, it's very childish names, like their peanut butter one's called D's Nuts.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, like one of the characters on their shows name's Carl. I guess he's into gummies or something because they got Carl's gummies.
Yeah.
That's like, but
People
that's a
know.
good idea. But
The kids know
Carl's
what it
got
means.
kind of his own personal brand apparently on the channel. I watch them, but not like I don't get into their other channels where some of that stuff is fleshed out more. Like they've got like gaming channels and React channels.
Yeah.
I just watch the main one. And so he's created this whole thing. So anyways, that's a really popular trend, and it's not just YouTubers that are doing that.
Yeah.
In fact, I know another YouTuber would be the Paul. I don't know. There's two of them. There's a Logan Paul and another Paul.
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul.
I don't know which one's which, but one of them launched a Prime drink.
Yeah, Jake
And I just learned about this week listening to the My First Million podcast that he actually did it in conjunction with one of the people that he boxed against.
Okay.
And they do these celebrity boxing matches type things. And so these frenemies launched a drink together using both of their channels. And I see it everywhere. It's in the grocery stores. So like obviously they're having some success, because I know like the Gatorades and Red Bulls of the world are not willingly giving up shelf space.
No.
And in the same way, Feastables with Mr. Beast isn't, Hershey's and M&M Mars is not giving up shelf space willingly. But one of the things that was brought up is these are bringing new people to the aisle. Like Hershey's might not have much connection with younger generations, but Mr. Beast does. So Feastables does.
Yeah.
And so that's just a really fascinating angle.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be just YouTubers, as I was saying. Like Ryan Reynolds does this too. In fact, Ryan Reynolds is probably like the GOAT at this.
Yeah.
Think about the things he's done. He's got Aviation Gin, which he's got his own beverage, adult beverage, that he can do hilarious commercials for. And it's actually really good. I've got some Aviation Gin in my home. I was not a gin guy, but we needed it for, I don't know. Can't even remember what the drink we were making was. I'm not a mixed drink. I'm not a mixologist, but we needed gin. And I was like, I know Aviation Gin, so I'll buy that. He bought Wrexham with Rob McElhenney.
Yeah.
And, they've taken a defunct Welsh football club, soccer club, and they've like made it into a brand to the point where some of the best selling jerseys, soccer jerseys, football jerseys internationally are these Wrexham jerseys.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's totally crazy. And then on top of that, the sponsorship of the jersey, I know initially was Aviation Gin. I think they switched it this year coming up. It's actually going to be something that his wife owns. I don't know what company it is, but his wife, who's also a famous actress, her name's slipping me right now.
They documented Blake Lively. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. What was I going to say? They documented a lot of their early on stages of their acquisition.
Oh, they have an FX show.
It's like an
that's
FX.
amazing.
Yeah. I haven't
Or
watched
not
it.
FX. It's Hulu. Or it might be. I watch it on
No.
Hulu, but you can watch FX.
It might be on Hulu.
I think it's just Hulu.
Yeah, I've wanted to watch that because it looks like
You have to.
what a beautiful way to do that. Like if you're gonna do that, document it. Like you talk about, this is more of a content thing, but we talk about don't create content, just be the content.
Yeah.
And there's like when you look at content across the board as it relates to social media, so many people are just posting everyday moments in their life. They're not posting like, it's not that someone's sitting in front of a camera talking and giving value all the time. And obviously like YouTube and stuff, you'll see that more, but I'm talking about short form content. It's a lot of the time like someone sitting at a computer just typing and then like text that's saying something like with a song or music in the background.
Yeah.
So they're doing essentially the same thing. They said, hey, we're going to acquire this whole like soccer club. Let's get Hulu. Let's get someone to say, hey, follow us along. Let's do a documentary and also monetize that. So like that's the beauty in business is you can just, if you could slow down enough to say, how do we capture what we're just doing? Because what you're doing is interesting, but you have to be able to almost like think outside of yourself for a little bit to be like, to be able to like slow down enough to do that.
Yeah. So those are examples of personal brands going corporate, and you can do it the other way too. So like F1 has the show Drive to Survive, and they've done the opposite. Whereas F1 has been around for a long time, and they've actually now started to create a bunch of awesome content through Netflix with this Drive to Survive show. It's an amazing show. I watched it for the first time a couple years ago, and I had never watched a single F1 race. I didn't watch a single F1 race until this year. And even then, I don't watch the whole thing, but I'm super fascinated with the results of the races. I've started to know who the drivers are, learning about just how F1 even works with, like, there's only 10 teams and 20 drivers. There's 2 drivers for each team. And then there's like they're affiliated with, like, some of them share the same engine manufacturer and some of them share, like, it's crazy to me to like learn about this world that I would have spent no time doing at all if it wasn't for this TV show that kind of brought me into the world and got to know some of the personalities involved, both the drivers and the team managers and even some of the owners are these interesting personalities. And obviously when you do a show that's, 8 episodes, but the season is 20 something races long, you can filter it down to just this potent content. Right. So it's been super fascinating to see how they've done that. And now tennis has copied that. Yeah. They have a show on Netflix, and so has golf. Like the PGA Tour / Live Golf have kind of copied that.
The quarterback on Netflix. It just
launched the quarterback thing, which is now
Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota.
It's like Hard Knocks. HBO's had Hard Knocks forever, which is an awesome show, but this is just narrowed in on individual
their families,
players.
and their families. Which is interesting, though. I thought the choice was interesting. Like, it's like, okay, Mahomes, obviously, that makes sense. Yeah. Kirk Cousins, I can kind of understand. He's got some hype around him. He at one point last year was like the highest paid quarterback in the league. And that's always changing. But then like Marcus Mariota from Atlanta, that one was a little off. Who cares about Marcus Mariota?
I think what they did is actually, I don't know if it was they started at the top of the list and worked their way down. But if what they did was intentional, then kudos to them, because they showed essentially
an A-list, B-list,
the guy, the man, like from a talent level, transform the way you look at quarterbacks with his playmaking ability and like sidearm throws and just crazy stuff. Then you've got Kirk Cousins, who's like the prototype, if you will. Yep. Like he's
solid,
white, cerebral, can't move a whole lot, but like makes plays and. He had a little bit of controversy when he left Washington because like they didn't want to sign him. He didn't want to sign, and it was a whole thing. He was also drafted the same year as RG3 to Washington. So he was drafted as a backup, but became the starter. He's got an interesting backstory. And then Mariota was a number 1 overall pick that didn't really pan out. Yeah. But he's still starter caliber. He's just kind of bottom of the barrel. Right. So if you look at it as like top, medium, bottom, like they've actually got 3 different
it's true. I guess
touch points.
I personally would have wanted to see like Lamar Jackson or someone like just bigger names, but you're right, that probably was strategic from them.
It's called quarterbacks. They can get different quarterbacks next year.
Different season. It's true.
I mean, I'd love to see Dak Prescott, not just as a Cowboys fan, but because of his backstory with like his mom dying from cancer, his brother dying to suicide, and like he's just one of those, and he's known throughout the league as like just the best leader, like unmeasurable qualities in leadership. Like how do you even measure that that ability? And so like that would be super fascinating to see some of the behind the scenes with that. And obviously,
I would just like to say, if y'all are going to shout out your quarterbacks, I would like to shout out Jalen Hurts, that I would like to see him on that show as well.
I would love to see how the Eagles have created an offense that makes such a trash quarterback actually pretty good. That would be really fascinating. Just kidding.
No,
I don't want the heat from that.
I actually would have loved to see that this past year. Like if they were able to capture Jalen Hurts over this past year, like going.
What would they do? They just do him leg pressing a bunch of times, and they'd be like, end of documentary.
Yeah, that's the thing with these shows. It's like obviously you don't know who is going to make it the whole way to the Super Bowl at the end of the year, so like it would be nice Like if you would just like have that hindsight to be able to follow someone the whole way to the Super Bowl, but you'd have to follow.
Yeah, well, they
Not all
followed
32 teams,
Mahomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I
You
didn't
have to follow a lot of teams
Yeah.
to make sure that you get both sides of that story.
just keep doing Mahomes, and there's a good chance you're going to get a couple more seasons where he goes to the Super Bowl and wins. I think,
Yeah.
I think he's owning the
Yeah.
decade of
No.
football.
100%. Yeah, I mean, so there's
yeah.
a bunch of different examples of what, and the NFL didn't need any help, but it's good PR for them.
Right.
F1 did need help. So to take it back to F1, the interesting thing is when that show launched, there was one race in the United States, one F1 race. There's now 3.
Wow.
Like they only had there was a race in Austin that was on the calendar pretty much every year, but now they've got one in Miami, which was a ridiculous spectacle, which might only be topped by the fact that they're adding Las Vegas, like crazy, and it's like through the streets of Las Vegas too. So, yeah, that's it.
It's
Almost, yeah. I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole with F1, but like the Miami one was like, this is too much. This is crazy.
In what regard?
Like it was just celebrities everywhere. Like they did like this like big, like they brought all the drivers out like WWE style, like WWF style, like walking down the ramp, you know, with like smoke and lights and announcers, and it was
Miami, bro.
much.
It's Miami. You got to do it when you're in Miami.
Yeah.
You got to do it. Now they have Messi. So I mean, we're talking about soccer, but Lionel Messi was signed to Miami.
Yeah,
which is wild just to see him in like on an American team. That's a big deal. I was gonna just really quickly say to kind of summarize they're leading their corporations who operate as corporations, but they're leading with people. Right. So if you want to go backward, you can be a personal brand that kind of then positions a business, right? Or I'm sorry, introduces a business, and now people can sort of get a grasp on this business that you're introducing because you've gained equity as a personal brand. Now, the opposite, which we're describing, are brands and big like corporations that are, instead of leading with their logo, they're leading with the people within their organizations. So if you're a company, how can you say, I'm thinking of medium-sized businesses, even service providers too. Again, we're trying to talk to those people. Like maybe you don't always lead with your logo, but just like, again, putting your people in the forefront of everything, and letting your own brand, literally when I say brand, like your logos, your visual identity fall secondary to that.
We didn't have
right. Like the NFL for the quarterback, the NFL is like not, that logo is not plastered everywhere in that documentary. It's just the stories of 3 quarterbacks, but the NFL is everywhere in the documentary. It's everything it's their whole lives surrounded around this thing and this game. And that, but they don't ever have to say that. And so the same could be true as like, as a, if you have a plumbing business or an HVAC business or can you tell me some other service brands? Because I keep going to freaking HVAC and plumbing.
I mean, there's a service
construction. There's
you're thinking very home service centric, which makes sense because we do work with a lot of home service companies.
Yeah,
but services can be dentists. It can be
right.
Any chiropractors, medical.
So, great. So dentists, right? Like what you talk about, like Sardina, one of our clients. What if like them leading? You talked about them leading with other dentists and other personalities. Well, imagine if they had like a documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds silly, right? Like, why would you do a documentary about a dentist? But like, what if it was just a 5-minute documentary? Doesn't have to be anything crazy. You hire a local videographer to like do it well, and it follows the story of 3 of your main doctors, their dentists or whatever, and going about their day and the challenges that dentists face or whatever. And you're leading with the people, and then at the end you see the logo come up and it disappears, and that's it. So you're telling that story from the perspective of a person rather than just trying to use it as an opportunity to grow your brand. But the beauty of it is that people connect to people.
Yeah.
And then they end up loving the brand behind it. So when you look at churches, another good example is you look at, you're familiar with Craig Rochelle, senior pastor of Life Church. They have campuses all over the country, right? Whatever. go look at the following at Life Church on Instagram, and then go look at Craig Groeschel's following. And he has such a more massive following than his church does. And he's always pointing back to his church. He's always promoting the church, but people follow people, you know? And so you need both to have presence, but there is a point where it's like, okay, people know who we are as a brand, as a business. I can now start to position myself as a personality or face of that, or introduce faces and personalities to that brand, which is, I think, where you're at. It's like, okay, Brand Nerd exists, but in order to level up, in order for people to really gain trust in us, we need to start showing our faces, sharing our opinions, sharing our thoughts on what we do and behind the scenes and different things like that, which is where this podcast comes in. It's where our content comes in, and sharing that. So
yeah, I think you're onto something there. I didn't necessarily write a conclusion for this episode, but I think you nailed it. Like, I think regardless of personal or corporate, it still has to be people.
Lead with people, yeah.
And so personal, obviously, it is a person. So
you are doing that by nature.
You are doing that by nature, but you have to be cognizant and aware of the downsides to that, to leading as an individual, and calling it, calling your channel or whatever by your name.
Right.
It's not wrong, but there are downsides to it.
Yeah.
You will be forever linked to that, and it'll take a lot of work to unlink from that.
Right. All right. And you almost very seldomly can you sell that in and of itself.
Yeah.
Right. But if you started other things, like Mr. Beast can sell Feastables someday. If it blows up enough, he could sell that as its own company.
Right.
And, the burger, what are they called? Beast Burgers? Mm-hmm. All that stuff can be sold as individual entities, whereas then the Mr. Beast channel, I mean, he's using, I guess Mr. Beast is a name. That's a little bit of a weird one, where it's like, that's not his actual name, obviously. But yeah, man, I just think we are living in a time where it's like, there used to be a time where you just had a corporate business, or like you just presented your business, right? There was no question of if you were going to show your face on a channel and stuff. Like that was like unprofessional.
Yeah.
And now it's like, you can do anything. Like you really can. Like it's hard to say there's a one size fits all for businesses, because I just feel like there's not. I've seen people lead with product and get results. That you can lead with your own like logo and get results, or you can lead with your face and your name and get results. So it just depends on the life you want to live and the business that you're trying to build. What are you trying to accomplish? It's like starting at the end and then working backwards, I think, will help tell you which way to go. I feel like, but
yeah, I mean, just candidly, that's ultimately what I want to do with Brand Nerd. What we want to do with Brand Nerd.
Ironically, I have a more personal brand.
Right.
And you actually have Brand Nerd. You started off with more of the corporate and then introducing personal.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm in kind of the opposite. I did personal brand and then have tried at times to introduce like a more official brand. So that's kind of interesting, but I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, it's fine. I just, I think, for me, doing this podcast and doing, doing it in conjunction or at the same time as the work that we're doing, one of the reasons we call this season 0 is because I want to figure this out. I recognize that the way the world is moving is more and more towards attention. It's been there for a while, and I've known that for a while, but just was like, we got to do it. Like, it's not that, part of me goes like, it's too late, but I'm like, no, it's not too late. It's just not as ideal as it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, but that doesn't mean you don't do it. And so, we're just all in on the attention economy and saying, hey, I'm going to do it the way that works for me, which is I can sit down and I can talk about a topic and I can, bring up interesting things. And that's very natural for me. But what's not natural for me is, hey guys, what's going on? It's, Wednesday at Brand Nerd.
Smash that like button.
Like I can't do that. And I don't have anything against anybody that wants to do that, but that's not part of my personality. People who know me personally would immediately be like, what is he doing? But when you when you sit down and have a conversation, they're like, okay, yeah, no, that's who he is. So, I'm also somebody who just thinks about stuff. I'm not a fast mover. Let's process this for a long period of time before I take action.
Yeah.
And so, doing something like a podcast is like, okay, outside of the fact that it took me some time to like get it to the quality where I felt like I'm willing to put it out in the world. It doesn't require as much of that like thought process that a different attack would definitely take me.
Yeah. That's really good, man. I think that's really insightful. I think you talked about not feeling like you're behind and that tension.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people are there. I think a lot of people feel like they missed the wave. And I heard someone tell me this about my investments. So like my financial investments. They said the best time to invest was yesterday. You know when the second best time to invest is? Tomorrow. No, today.
Oh, dang.
It's today. It's today. Yesterday was the best time. Today is the second best time.
Okay.
There is no third option. That's it. And I think the same is true with creating content. Like yesterday was the best time. Today is the second best time. So like do it today, Jump in. You're not behind. There's so much space.
And I think like what I've learned, the one thing that I've learned that I would share with other people is do something that you can do, because I can't do, hey, welcome to Brand Nerd on Wednesday. Let's do a tour. Let's look at the things we're working on right now. I can't do that. Not to say that I couldn't learn, but like it wouldn't be something that long-term I could find satisfaction from doing.
Sure.
Because it's just not like, I'm not an oversharer ever.
Yeah.
But one-on-one conversations, long-form conversations, putting on your hip waders and wading out into the nuance of life and business and anything really. Like that's where I want to be. And a podcast is a really good format for that. Right. And it's not to say that other things can't come from this. It's not to say that we can't do a more produced video. In fact, I would love to do more produced videos, but the spontaneous hold up your camera and, try to pump people up with inspiration or document the days. It's just not me.
Yeah.
And I might try it from time to time, but it's not going to be something that I can do with any sort of consistency.
Yeah.
I can do this with consistency.
Yeah. And eliminating that's amazing. You have to lean into what comes natural to you, at least to start. If you start off the jump doing something that's not natural to you, you're going to fail really quick, or you're just going to burn out quickly because it's not genuine. Again, it's not, you said it, it's not that it can't be done. It's just not sustainable, perhaps. I think the other piece of it is that you have to eliminate barriers. So if you are terrible at editing or don't want to edit anything, then just do a single cut video. Do a 5-minute video and don't edit. If you don't know how gear works and you literally just want to use your AirPods because it's better for you to start and build the muscle of putting out content than it is for you to sit back and do nothing and never touch it because you're not growing. Right? If you can take steps towards getting better gear or whatever it is, like I know now we're talking about content creation, but I think even because that's how your brand comes across, whether you have a personal brand or a corporate brand, you still have to present those things, right? You can have a personal brand or corporate brand, but if you're never sharing it, it's not reaching anyone. So a personal brand is reached through sharing video, sharing threads, sharing tweets, sharing Instagram posts, all those things. That's how you promote yourself, whether it's corporate or personal. So I say that to say, start like us, start like season 0. Say, hey, this is season 0 of my content creation journey, my personal branding journey, my corporate branding journey. And I'm going to start where I'm at with the things that I have in front of me, my phone and my AirPods. That's where I'm starting. You're not going to have great audio. You're probably not going to have the best engagement, but it's not about those things. It's about your muscle of putting out content. If you don't start to build that muscle, you're not going to be good at it. Right? People will sit there and tell you, you got to have all the right stuff first, but then you get in front of you can have the best gear in the world, but if you don't know how to engage someone, It doesn't matter. And that's all we're talking about. That's branding. Branding is getting people to feel something.
Yeah.
Right? Marketing is getting people to perhaps, to oversimplify, if marketing is being able to get someone to move them to buy something, right? To sell them something, then branding is getting them to feel something through visuals to some degree, whether it's visual of your face, whether it's like your video talking. Personal brand, people don't consider this. Part of your personal brand is how you dress. Part of your personal brand is your haircut style. Right? Like there are people, you have glasses. That's part of your personal brand.
I need to see too.
Yeah, right. You actually need to see, but your brand is
yeah, but I'm not afraid to wear white glasses.
Is a part of that.
Embrace the nerd.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't listen. For me, I'm not going to preach at people to do something that I didn't do, because I don't hold up my phone with like when I decided to start a podcast, I invested several $1,000s in podcasting gear.
Yeah, but look how long it took you to do it.
Sure.
You would have been, I think you would have been, you would have had more subscribers had you picked up your phone and been consistent.
I'm not arguing that point at all.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I want to speak from a position of what I have done, and what I have done is this. I can speak to the same perspective from starting a business.
Yeah.
For me, everything is a little bit slower than just, I didn't just put up any website.
Right.
I didn't just grab any logo. Like, to me, and I think that's a good instinct.
Yeah.
There are fast starters out there, quick starters, people who move. But for me, I want to encourage people who are more in my vein of things to go, if that's a barrier for you, because there's tons of people out there that are saying, you got to just press record. That's what Think Media says, or you got to just hold up your phone. And they're not wrong.
Right.
But there are people like me, I have to believe, because I don't think I'm the only one,
No, you're not.
who is like overthinking everything. And I think the way to get over that, other than just this mentality of like, just do it, stupid. My thought is find how you can do it.
Right.
You know what? And find what you can do consistently and do that.
Yeah.
Because, unfortunately, what it took for me was to get to the point in my business where I can have other people help me do it.
Yeah.
And that's not feasible for most people.
Right.
Depending where they're at. And so, I just want to offer the other side of the coin to people and say that there's not one way to do it. Don't feel like you have to, or like you're deficient because you can't just hold your phone up and start talking. But I will say the only way to get like the reps of being comfortable with something like that is to do it, if that's something you want to do.
Yeah.
But I look at people who do that and go, nah, it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've tried it just for fun, like spontaneously to go like, am I good at this? Maybe I'm good at it and I don't know it. And I do it and I go, no, I don't think I'm that good at it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I feel like that's a good place to draw this bad boy to an end. Let us know in the comments on YouTube or through our email, hello@bnpod.com. Let us know how you like the new segment, Nerd News. If you made it here to the end, let us know your thoughts on personal branding and this kind of new normal of
Hybrid.
yeah. Well, yeah. And I think it makes sense because everything is people, right? Yeah. And I think brands have to become more and more personal. We're not all Pepsi, we're not this corporate giant that gets to do whatever it wants. So if you're in shoes similar to ours, where you're a smaller business and but you have aspirations of growing and scaling, then leaning into your personality is going to be a win. And I think that's a conclusion that we kind of stumbled into on this episode as we were unpacking all of this. So let us know. Check us out on YouTube. Today we're at 150 subscribers. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's a
we
number.
got to fit 150 a lot faster than it took to get from 0 to 100. So we gained that 50 much faster.
Oh, yeah.
It's cool to snowball how that works.
Yeah. I mean, I think last month, we're like doubling month to month, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm excited.
So, I mean, that's
Shout out
that's
to
what you call exponential growth.
Exponential growth, and shout out to Devin, man. Devin's been crushing it in the background, doing all the things, and yeah, he's a big part of what we do. So thank you. For helping us get to 150.
Check the description. You can see the different ways to interact with us. It's all there.
Deploy the nerds.
Yeah, on all the socials. Thanks so much. Until next time, stay curious.
If you enjoyed this Brand Nerd podcast, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.